I'm Pinto from India. Climate change is really the biggest thing to happen in my life and among my people. I think I heard about it when I was very young from people who worked in the fields and fisher folk, and even in my own family, from my mother's grandmother who used to look after her own fields. And it was not a very scientific or technical assessment, but very clearly the people who worked with the land and with the water, they recognized that the taste of the water and the air and the land, the soil had changed. The way the crops grew and the way they ripened or the way they gave flowers, the insect population changed. In Manipur, the place where I live, 25 years ago there were no crows. Now there's almost nothing else. And really this is all linked to climate change in many ways. Women and men are, of course, impacted as human beings in the same way, susceptible to the new diseases, to new forms of old diseases. All that is happening. But there's also a differential impact because of gender. Women are often described as vulnerable, but it occurs to me that women are those who have to feed and look after children, the elderly, the sick. I don't think that constitutes vulnerability in a difficult situation. I think that is a question of how much burden is placed on women to compensate for the crisis and the toll the crisis takes in the community. And on top of that, they're expected to do all these things to compensate for the social environment or the lacks or the deficiencies in the social environment. And on top of that, they're considered vulnerable, and I think that's fundamentally a disrespect that's paid to women in the language, and it reflects the attitude. Men are impacted too, and men are impacted differently, more dramatically very often. For example, if a forest biodiversity declines, women are impacted in one way, men are impacted in another. And when men lose their sources of livelihood, unfortunately in these times there is very little in the way of alternatives that are offered to them. This in turn amplifies the problems that the women have to face, because now they have to pick up the slack from what the men used to do and are not able to do anymore. So it's a really complicated dynamic where women's burdens are multiplied in many ways. And there are very few social or, very few social programs or policy supports offered. And those that are almost, how shall one put it? They're almost incidental, they're grudgingly given, and they don't really amount to much if you look at it in the scale of what women have to actually do to keep communities surviving.